Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Sadly, in the news, another young basketball player from the world of college basketball reported dead. We talked about Oscar Freyer of Grand Canyon during the tournament. And, whoops, forgot to shut off the alarm. But we talked about the death of Oscar Freyer of Grand Canyon. Again, they made their first March Madness this year. The coach of Grand Canyon, his brother's the coach of Baylor, who went on to win the championship. And, of course, Elgin Baylor died during the tournament, during the Sweet 16, and then Baylor won the championship by 16 points with 86, like Elgin Baylor died at 86. But anyway, now we have another young basketball player, 19 years old, Terrence Clarke, reportedly dead in a car accident. And they're saying this is right after he signed with LeBron James and Klutch Sports. And there's a very familiar pattern here. If you've been following my channel since GematriaEffectNews was launched, again, for those of you who are new here, my channel has been deleted a bunch of times. So in July of 2018, I tried a new strategy. I made a channel called GematriaEffectNews and a channel called GematriaEffectNews. And GematriaEffectNews has stayed up since I made it in July of 2018. But GematriaEffectNews has been deleted about 5 times alone since then. It's like on the 6th edition of GematriaEffectNews just since then, but now it's been deleted 21 total times. But if you go back to the beginning of this channel, if you click on the videos tab for GematriaEffectNews and sort by oldest, you'll see at the beginning of the channel, we talked about LeBron and his future path with the Lakers and why he'd win the Lakers their 17th championship in his 17th season, which he did. He signed on 1/7, July 1st, coming from the 17th state, Ohio. But around that same time, we also did the videos on the deaths of William Billy Knight and Tyler Honeycutt, who both died and were former UCLA basketball players. They both died right after LeBron signed in LA. And I said, what are the odds, you guys? These deaths, Tyler Honeycutt was the first, too, and that was on July 6th. The date can be written 6/7. But anyway, from that video up to the present, we've been talking about the same patterns. And even before those videos, I've been teaching about 67 in celebrity suspicious deaths since 2014, nonstop. I mean, I've been teaching about this same thing for 7 straight years. But the latest death, Terrence Clarke, right after he signs with LeBron, April 22nd, 2021, a date with 67 numerology. Again, right after LeBron signed with the Lakers, 2 former UCLA players died, William Knight and Tyler Honeycutt. And you might remember shortly after that, Richard Jefferson's father was gunned down in Compton, outside of Los Angeles, suburb of Los Angeles. That was September 20th, 2018, also a date with 67 numerology. You know, same patterns over and over. And again, Shock G found dead in Tampa, on this same day, the 67 date numerology, dead in a hotel. If you watched my video on Shock G last night, I talked about how 67 is the 19th prime, and the Super Bowl was in Tampa, and it was a huge 19 ritual because Brady beat the state of Missouri 19 years after the last time he beat him in the Super Bowl, which was with the St. Louis Rams. This time he beat the Kansas City Chiefs, both in Missouri, 19 years apart, like the 19-year lunar cycles. Well, notice who's dead here from Kentucky. A 19-year-old on the 67 date. And again, 67 is the 19th prime number. And again, we're always talking about the same patterns, teaching about the same knowledge day after day, exposing the same patterns. And it's always funny how many new people come here and they're like, I bet you just make this up and connect whatever. It's like, nope, been teaching the exact same thing, written 2 books about it, and the same thing keeps playing out. And like I've explained many times, in the world of celebrity-related death, I haven't seen more for anybody in the world of entertainment than for LeBron James. So many are connected to LeBron. It's crazy. And again, this young man just signed with LeBron's Klutch Sports. Then he's supposedly dead in a car accident on the 67 date numerology. And, you know, how many more Hollywood movies do they need to put out where they even show you, like, how they make it look like somebody died in a car accident, you know? They mock us with the entertainment. It clues us in on what we're really reading about in the news. But a lot of people don't put the pieces of the puzzle together. So anyhow, 67 is this fateful number. It connects to words like blood sacrifice, human sacrifice. Again, the player names William Knight and Tyler Honeycutt, who died, former UCLA players right after LeBron signed. In Gematria, satanic also equals 67. And when you use the alphabetic order and rules numerology, satanic's 22. In this case, the death was on the 22nd of April. And basketball's also got that 22 connection. Again, and it's not to say that basketball is satanic, but it is to say because they share these numbers, they become part of this ritual. Again, the practice of doing this comes from Kabbalah. Again, Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism practiced by organizations such as the Jesuits. Again, that's who's behind all this, the Jesuit order. And remember, our language is credited to the Catholic Church. Our calendar is the Catholic Church's calendar. All roads lead to Rome. A lot of these basketball players went to Jesuit and Catholic schools. And the Jesuits were created by Jews who converted to Catholicism, who brought this knowledge of letters and numbers that's Gematria. And also, look up the songs Gematria, the Killing Name, and Murder by Numbers by the Police. And remember that song sung by a group called The Police, because like I've said before, I mean, if you're getting pulled over by a cop and you happen to be getting pulled over by like the murderous cop that does the celebrity rituals, you know, who's to say this isn't what's going down? You're getting pulled over by the police. You know you better pull over, otherwise you're going to have even more problems. What if instead of like to get a ticket or because you did something wrong, this police officer is like literally going to kill your ass? And then he's also, you know, the expert that knows how to set up the false scene and, you know, whatever else they do. Pay off the right coroner. Again, something like this got to be going on. So often in these rituals, it's the car crash, the car crash, the car crash. Well, what's the one thing most people do in this world? They travel by road. There's police everywhere. If this is the gist of it, I mean, this could be how these things are being accomplished. Again, listen to the song The Police, Murder by Numbers, which came out in 83, and the word murder's 83. It's also the 23rd prime number, and of course, that's LeBron's number. But as for this man playing for the Kentucky Wildcats, if you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers: the alphabetic order forwards, the alphabetic order in reverse, the alphabetic order forwards with the rules numerology, and in reverse with the numerology. What's considered the most pure cipher is the dark blue cipher, the alphabetic order with the rules numerology. That's the one we've always worked with since we began. Always understood was the most important cipher. That's never changed. Again, that's been a consistent message for going on 8 years of teaching this. But again, that's where blood sacrifice, human sacrifice, William Knight, Tyler Honeycutt, they're all 67, as is satanic. This happens on the 22nd in a big basketball ritual. But the 4 base ciphers, they're all important. Kentucky Wildcats has the 201, like the Jesuit order, the huge number with the Jesuits. Remember, the word Jesuit alone is 84. LeBron was born 201 days after the 84 finals concluded. Last year's NBA Finals was set with Lakers and Heat in a ritual with Pat Riley, who's from Rome, New York, and the finals were set on September 27th when the Heat advanced over the Celtics on the day the Jesuits were recognized by Rome. Again, huge rituals. It was 191 days from Pat Riley's birthday, Society of Jesus 191. Those are who the Jesuits are. But they have certain numbers that they operate by ritualistically. 201 is a huge number with the Jesuits. Kentucky Wildcats has that in their name. Remember, March Madness. First March Madness in 85. Basketball equals 85. The Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator, is 85. The first March Madness, the Catholic school defeated the Jesuit school. And the Jesuits serve the Pope and the Catholic Church, so I think that's the symbolism. The Jesuits sacrificing their school, Georgetown, for the Catholic school, Villanova. And, of course, Georgetown did win in 84 and Jesuits 84. When you run it in reverse, Jesuits 78. The coach of that team, John Thompson, died at age 78 on a Sunday on a date with 78 numerology last year, August 30th, 2020. But notice, Kentucky Wildcats got the 201, right? Big Jesuit number. Got the 57, which is the championship-related number. NBA Finals is 57. And it's got the 231, which is the 21st triangular number. Lakers 21, Jesuit 21, Klutch 21. He just signed with Klutch Sports. Ignatius of Loyola 231, the founder of the Jesuits, which is why the first Jesuit university was established 23/1, January 23rd. And then Kentucky Wildcats also has the 96, Well, that plays in big with the LeBron part because LeBron and Lakers are both 96. And notice Terrence Clarke's birthday is 9/6, September 6th. And his name's also 66, like LeBron and Lakers and LeBron James. Remember the year LeBron won his first NBA Finals, the season was shortened to 66 games. Again, we talk about the same numbers year after year with the rituals. Notice how they even got him listed at 6'7". I don't know if that's his real height, but Wikipedia has that right now, that he's 6'7" in the 67 ritual. Okay, but 66, again, it's that number of the beast number related to Revelation, which is 22 chapters. If you have not read my first book, I talk about all the 666 rituals they do with LeBron because he's got the 66 encoded in his name. Again, that stuff's been out there for a while, but these are just ongoing patterns. And that's why somebody who hasn't followed the work for years, who hasn't read the books, they don't realize that we're talking about the same thing like literally every single day. They watch one video and they think because they've never heard it before, it means a bunch of nonsense. It'd be on the news if it was important. That's the way mainstream people think. If this was important, I would have learned about it in school. It would be on the news. They don't realize that their whole life they were meant to be kept in the dark and be the good, useful idiots that they are. Again, that's 90% of humanity. That's why so many people run into the same situation where they're sharing this undeniable knowledge, making correct predictions, and people still can't accept it because they're conditioned, they're programmed. But here's the other thing. LeBron James, from his birthday to the day this happened, is 114th day of his age. Now, if you're new here, I must have said no less than 500 times on my videos over the years that 114 is the LeBron James number. He just won the finals last year on October 11th because of coronavirus, how they rescheduled the season. 114 days after the real King James's birthday, June 19th. And the real King James' birthday is 619. 619 is the 114th prime number. Again and again, rituals with LeBron and 114. And I am tearing up my throat lately because I'm out on the streets every day, megaphone, presenting, doing long videos. Tell you what, man, my throat wants a vacation. Oh yeah, by the way, again, don't forget LeBron was born in 84. But 114th day of his age, this happens. And again, Richard Jefferson, again, just to point out that we're always pointing out the same things. The date that his father was killed had 67 and 47 date numerology, Richard Jefferson. And that's the same as Terrence Clarke, who's now dead, who played at Kentucky. And, just to go back to about a year ago, last year they had this virtual Kentucky Derby because the first one got rescheduled because of the whole COVID thing. But they had this ritual on May 2nd, 2020, a date with 47 numerology. They had a virtual race between the prior Triple Crown winners. There's been 13 in history, 13 Triple Crown horses. So they had all 13 Triple Crown winners racing against each other in a virtual derby. Well, notice, Secretariat, who'd won 47 years earlier at the Kentucky Derby, won on that simulation date that was 47 date numerology. If you use the numerology connections, Kentucky's also 47, and this young man for Kentucky just died on a 47 date numerology as well as 67. Again, it's all math. You can't just manipulate numbers. The reason some dates are 67, 47 is because how it works. The way you get the date numerology is 4 plus 22 plus 20 plus 21. April 22nd, 2021. You add it in parts. 4 plus 22 plus 20 plus 21, 67. You can also do it without the 20 part, so 4 plus 22 plus 21, which is 47. It was the same thing for the day Richard Jefferson's dad died. But look at this. This was a huge tribute to time. And by the way, we called both Triple Crown winners before they happened. But for all the people who come here and come to this same programmed false idea that you can just get anything you want because you have 4 ciphers, again, here were the horses in the race last year for the virtual Kentucky Derby. And as you can see, the gematria in all 4 base ciphers for all horses, can you see how many 47s are up there out of all those numbers? Is there any in the green row? I do not see any in the green row. So none in the green row. Furthest to the left. How about in the neon green row? Do you see any 47s? There are no 47s in the neon green row. How about in the aqua blue, furthest to the right section? Do you see any 47s? There are none. What about in the most pure cipher row, the dark blue? There's 147, and it's Secretariat, who won the race on the 47 date numerology 47 years after the last race. And what have I been teaching about for years? 47, right? What is 47? There's literally a license plate in my background that says, what is 47? The word times 47. The tropics are separated by 47 degrees. There's so many rituals with that number. But again, this is why the people who've taken the time to learn this knowledge and apply it to the world of sports and take advantage of NASCAR and golf tournaments and every single professional sports, league there is with gambling action on it, that's why they've become consistent winners. Now, there are some people who've taken this knowledge and they've failed with it, and that's their fault. That's just like you can make a great tool that's for the job, but not everybody can wield the tool. Some people don't have the mind power, But again, if you take this knowledge and use it the way that I've taught it on Patreon for years, and to be the tortoise and not, get real hot and get up $50,000 and then think you found the riddle of the century that pays 3-1 and you're going to become worth $150,000 that night and then it falls short and you lost all your money, that's how you end up losing it all. And that's why the casinos stay in business, because they know the gambler gets greedy eventually and they want to become a millionaire and they give it all back. But again, for those who've just taken the knowledge and padded their salary, people like Big Al. Big Al pads his salary very comfortably, day after day, just taking the knowledge, applying it, and, laughing at the rigged outcomes. And again, this knowledge shouldn't be for gambling, but for all the people who do laugh at this and think it's so dumb, realize there are people that are like literally earning a living off this knowledge. This is how sports are scripted. And if you don't think it's scripted and you just think we live in the Matrix and this is how the Matrix works, then fine. Then you understand how the Matrix works. I'd say that's probably even more valuable. But again, to me, the world of sports, it looks very inauthentic. But again, I'm just here for all the people who say that, it's because you're using 4 ciphers, you can make it. It's just like, no. Your whole theory and your whole accusation, which has zero research behind it, is totally false. And it's also, again, it's just things like this, just to get off on a tangent. Again, with the base ciphers, we always knew 47 was the number of DC. The cornerstone for DC was laid September 18th, 1793, a date with 47 numerology. And the most pure cipher, Foundation's 47. The Masons, cornerstones, the Masonic compass set at 47 degrees for the Scottish Rite out of France, where the founders studied. And the word France is 47 with the most simple cipher. And then again, just look at the list. Government, 47 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse with the rules of numerology. Authority, 47 in the most pure cipher. Words like obey, 47 in the most simple cipher. The word president is 47. All the Roman architecture in D.C., the word Caesar is 47. The word Republican is 47 in the most pure cipher. Democrat is 47 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse with the rules of numerology. But Whig, the Whig Party, gave birth to the Republican Party. Lincoln made the Whig Party the Republican Party. Whig is 47. And Lincoln said 47 years ago. And again, President's 47 in the most pure cipher. White House is 47. Again, all these words are 47 in D.C. that go together perfectly. And before we knew reverse gematria, we didn't know that White House was 47 for the first 3 years. We didn't know that Democrat was 47. We did not know these things the first 3 years. Government, didn't know that had the 47 connection, but we already knew that D.C. was 47 land. So many 47 rituals in that city. Oh, and then when you just run the alphabetic order in reverse, the letters D.C. are 47 in reverse. Again, this is not a coincidence. This is symbolism encoded in language that has meaning that goes back to this Babylonian knowledge. Kabbalah and all this. Everything carries a vibration. Everything has an influence. So, again, I feel bad for the dummies who watch my videos and leave the dumb comments. This is so dumb. It's like, yeah, what you think is so dumb is called how many sports championships, seasons ahead, college and pro? How many elections? How many news stories? How many market surges, crypto to, Moderna? I mean, come on, man. To be mocking this work and making fun of it this day and age, as consistent as it is, as repetitive as it is. Again, these people, sadly, they make up the majority of our society, but don't let that discourage you. I knew that on 9/11, 2001, that the majority of people were obviously idiots because everyone was fooled by 9/11 instantly, and it was the most obvious lie that should have been recognized from the first second it happened. Everyone should have seen the lie of what a joke our Democratic Republic it is with George W. Bush becoming the president shortly before that. The last Republican president was his father, and we're supposed to not be a land of kings and queens and a monarchy? I mean, come on. Meanwhile, they're giving you all the stories about how all the presidents are related to the royal bloodlines. It's like, come on, man. People can't see that the Revolutionary War is not what we thought it was. The outcome's not what we thought it was. New York Times is publishing articles about how much land the Queen owns. It's like, again, they're hints at what's really going on. We are a society of slaves. All roads lead to Rome. They know to keep the slaves in place. You got to entertain them. You got to make some things good. You got to give them some good foods, some fun games, and then they'll go do their slave job and make big profits for the ruling class who never work a day in their life. This is the way the world works, The owners of the leagues. They don't have to work. They just get to be the owner of the stadium that rakes in all this money because the mind-controlled populace goes into the game, pays way too much money for tickets, way too much money for all the food there, pays $20 for a cup of beer that they could have got outside the arena for what? I mean, a Bud Light for $20 in your cup? What's the Bud Light value outside of the stadium for that same amount? $2? You just paid 10 times as much in the stadium? Again, the reason there's a ruling class is because the dummy slave class is obsessed by the mind control of the ruling class, so they just play right into their games. Man, yeah, I'll pay $20 for the Bud Light to watch LeBron from up here in the nosebleeds. Like mid-game, you're like, so the view's actually better on TV? It's like, yeah, and it doesn't cost as much. But again, I know why people go to the game. You want to experience the energy of the crowd. And remember, this stuff is all energy. It's like they're siphoning the energy of humanity. But also, for another familiar pattern that we talked about many times, this young man who's dead, the 19-year-old, Terrence Clarke, he's got a September 6th birthday like we talked about, dead April 22nd. That was 228 days after his birthday. Death in Sumerian gematria is 228. That's just a cipher where you just multiply every letter times 6. There's a lot of people who decode gematria, and that's the only cipher they look at. They're only interested in the times 6 cipher. I think that cipher is definitely relevant. We talk about death in 228 a lot. And don't forget, United States of America equals 228. Martin Luther King Jr. equals 228. Not his birth name, but his assumed name, and the only born American with a holiday named after him because of his death. So, again, LeBron James mourns the death. And here's the other thing I always talk about if you guys are new here. I always talk about how a lot of these people that are in, big college stars, make it to the league, they're not like us. They were born and bred to be, named accordingly, their lives planned for the scripted future NBA theater roles they'll play, or NFL roles, or MLB roles, or MLS, whatever. But they say right here in the article, it says, in preparation for the 2021 NBA draft, Terrence Clarke, along with his fellow Wildcat alum Brandon Boston Jr., just recently joined LeBron and his agent Rich Paul over at Klutch Sports, Klutch spelled with a K. Boston was with Clarke during the car crash, but was spared since he was riding a separate vehicle at the time. Okay, I want to know what really went on here because, first of all, the dude's name is Boston, right? Come on, it's like Boston. For those who don't know, look at basketball. Look at the Gematria basketball, 85-22. Now look at the Gematria Boston, 85-22, right? This happened on the 22nd. Talking about the first March Madness in 85. Always a big ritual number with basketball. But look at this. Okay. Here's the thing. Brandon Boston Jr. is 224. And what day did this happen? April 22nd, right? April 22nd, a date written 22/4 in the majority of the world. So this is the other big guy in the ritual who also just signed with LeBron, who lives on, right? One dies, the other lives on. And you ever seen those National Geographic specials, like where some birds, they give birth to two, and then they have to decide which one's stronger? And then the weaker one, they'll like knock down into the lake where the alligators are waiting for their meal. And you just think like, man, that is just so cold. But that's just the way that species is. They know they can only do it to raise one properly but they give birth to two to make sure they get a choice between a stronger one. Anyway, you watch nature specials, you see there's a lot of things like that happen in the natural world. It's just like, man, natural world is cold-blooded. And for all the people who compare themselves to animals and say, well, I do this because animals do that, it's like, okay, you compare yourself to an animal, you got the same consciousness level as an animal, really? Actually, I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people do, like the same ones who come here and try to dismiss what we show day after day. Prove it every single day. But, and by the way, for all the haters, I mean, what we just do with the Masters again? We just murdered the Masters again. Who else is murdering golf tournaments? This knowledge, you can't believe how scripted things are until you learn this knowledge. Unless you just think it's all the Matrix, which I struggle with that one. I know there's an organic side to the code, but a lot of this looks super manipulated. He just signs with LeBron. All these deaths connected to LeBron. You know what sucks that they keep deleting my channel? I mean, it was already a few channels ago where I had the video. For those of you guys who follow me daily, though, you remember the day where we were talking about a death in the morning connected to LeBron, and I feel bad. I can't remember who it was now. But then somebody called in and they said, man, have you seen LeBron's clip with Obama where they're both laughing so hard about making a deal with the devil? And then it was like later that same day, a headline breaks about how LeBron's high school teammate, his sister, is gunned down in her driveway in a random drive-by. By the way, if you guys just watched my video on Signs Matter, where I'm talking to people out on the streets of this little town I live in Washington State, like all towns in America, homeless people. I just was talking to this gentleman, Chris, and he was talking about how back when he was in L.A., he used to be part of the, groups that the cops would come and, pay them and give them something to go do a drive-by on this group. And he was putting that all out there, just how the police collaborate with the gangs, then how they'll set up the gangs and they'll have them do a hit, but then sometimes they'll arrest them and bust them, and other times they won't. And, yeah, again, we in the time I've been out on the street, we've had a number of people come up and name names of corrupt police officers, judges. I mean, there's people that are out walking our streets that have a clue or two about things that are going on. You don't hear about those people, though, because they don't make the nightly news. And the program masses are just watching the news, which is about misinforming them, steering them astray, keeping them from the truth night after night, like a nonstop distraction. And the sheep can't see that that's what it is. They're still believing the news, even though the news is constantly retracting what it's reporting. I mean, isn't the news always doing that, retracting what it reported? Oh, sorry about this big scare, this big piece of misinformation. Sorry, we're going to retract that. It's actually not true. It's actually just the opposite of what we said. But also, I mean, and even the things they don't retract, that wrong about everything. They sold the whole nation on a war with the Middle East after 9/11, an obvious lie, and they made it seem like it was just going to last a few months. It's 20 years later. Again, people still listening to the news. It's just, something seriously got to be wrong with you. But, and also, just to look at these names, I mean, Brandon Boston, remember David Boston with the big biceps. There might have been another Boston somewhere in pro sports, but right after the Lakers tie Boston with 17 championships, as we said they'd do the day LeBron signed with the Lakers, and just what they also report down here, just so many things, you guys. The 9.6 points, we were just talking about his birthday, 9-6, and Kentucky, and the connection with Lakers and LeBron, and then 42% from the field. It's just like, oh, man, just all the numbers they be put in front of your face. And people just don't see it, man. Same things day after day. So just to remind about the Tyler Honeycutt, again, this post was made July 7th, 2018. This is my old website before I had GematriaEffect.news. This site I maxed out, but he was the 35th pick of the draft, and he was drafted by the Kings. And remember, King James equals 35 in the most pure cipher. Again, that's why there's that one cipher that's the most pure. King James 35. That was part of the reason we like LeBron winning the finals, too, while he was 35 years old. Or in the season that began while he was 35. He turned 36 during that season, but started while he was 35. The real King James became a Freemason at age 35. And remember, Freemason. You see how King James also 89? Remember when the Warriors lost to LeBron on the real King James' birthday? They went down with 89. Religion's 89. 89 chapters in the Gospel. King James Bible. But, oh shoot, what was the point I was making? 35. Shoot. It'll come back to me. But anyway, the real King James became a king at 35 months of age. This Tyler Honeycutt, he was the 35th pick of the draft by the Kings. Don't forget that LeBron, King James, played his first ever NBA game against the Kings. And also don't forget that the real King James, his son was King Charles, and the people who fought for Charles in the English Civil War were the Cavaliers. So LeBron ends up playing for the Cavaliers, which has a real connection to the real King James. And then he wins his first finals with the Cavs on the real King James's birthday, June 19th, 2016, 2016 in the 216 area code, where the last game played in Cleveland, 216 points were scored before he came back and won from down 3-1. Remember, the Warriors came back 3-1 over the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. Then the Cavs came back from down 3-1 over the Warriors to win on the real King James's birthday. And that was LeBron's 13th season. Like, the real King James became a king at 13 months of age. And by the way, this death right here is exactly 13 weeks before Game 7 of the NBA Finals. And if you haven't been following what we've been doing for the NBA Finals, we put out our pick before the season began, and I'll be surprised if it's wrong. But, yeah, exactly 13 weeks to Game 7 on July 22nd, which also works out for a 22. But Tyler Honeycutt, we were pointing out, July 6th can be expressed as 6'7", like 67. King is 67. West is 67. LeBron had just gone to the West, right? Just transferred conferences from the Cavs in the East to the Lakers in the West. And his full name, Tyler Dion Honeycutt, has that 87 in it as well, just like James. Another special number of the beast number. Got the 84 like Jesuit. There's a lot of things in his name, but in the most pure cipher, Tyler Honeycutt, 67. You see how Honeycutt's also 112? You see that? Again, that's the Jesuits' number. And this latest death, April 22nd, is the 112th day of the year. That's the Jesuits' mark. Catholicism's 112. The Jesuits operate in 112 countries. So, again, just familiar numbers, familiar patterns. And then William Knight, or Billy Knight, he was found dead after goodbye video. See, TMZ caught that ex-UCLA star Billy Knight found dead at 39 after goodbye video. And, again, William Knight, 67 in the most pure cipher. You know what's funny about that William Price Knight? You see that 287? See, I didn't know about that number back then, but we were talking about that last year because the name of Father-Daughter Day, which the Lakers won on, had the Gematria 287, and it was 287 days after LeBron's birthday. And then Khabib, the UFC fighter, just a few months before LeBron won the finals, 287 days after his birthday on Father-Daughter Day, when Kobe, the father, and his daughter died that season. Remember, Kobe Bryant, 41. In Gematria, dead at 41, which is the 13th prime. LA's 13 forwards, 41 in reverse, his daughter 13. Kobe Bean Bryant, 54, add their years together, 54 years, dead the weekend before Super Bowl 54. But I see that William Price Knight's got that 287 in his name. And that's what we were saying. If you go back and watch the videos, we were saying, man, this is all about what's coming for LeBron. And he ended up winning his finals 287 days after his birthday. That's why when you go back and study your old notes, you'll pick up on things that you didn't realize before, because I didn't have 287 wasn't on the map. But I was saying Khabib, his father died 287 days after his birthday, and he's like at the top of the UFC game at the time. So, again, covered that, and then we covered Richard Jefferson, and I think I forgot to make the point about Richard Jefferson. We were talking about that number 91, just like how this latest death's 91 days from the Game 7 of the NBA Finals, 91 against the 13th triangular on the calendar. That's also 13 weeks. But, again, I just wanted you to see that I was pointing out that Richard Jefferson, where did I put it? I know I got it here somewhere. Richard Allen Jefferson Jr. and Richard Allen Jefferson Sr., father, son, the father murdered, both of the 114 connection, right? Always talking about LeBron James and 114. And now we're talking about the death of this young man on LeBron James' 114th day of his age. Again, that's why whenever people say that I'm always just like inventing new things to connect things, it's just so false. I mean, I'm talking about the same things. I've called 114 the LeBron James number so many times. There's so many rituals with LeBron in that number. And again, the other point I want to make, you know what? I think it was just right there on the screen for me to make. So you see how, okay, the death of Richard Jefferson's father was 102 days before LeBron's birthday. And this is the thing right here. Slavery is 102, right? Slavery is 102. And remember, the N-word is 102. And like the Ahmaud Arbery killing last year in Georgia, he was supposedly killed February 23rd. The headline of him being called the N-word caught on camera as he's killed came out 102 days after that. You know, you can hear the killers say N to Ahmaud Arbery as they shoot him was something like the story. That was 102 days later, right? That country singer who got in big trouble this year for saying the N-word and got his music pulled from the radio, that supposedly happened in Nashville. But so many things with this 102 number as well. 102, the American Civil War on the 102nd day of the year. My mind is slipping right now. Hold on. I had a greater point to make about the whole slavery thing. Well, remember, slavery's got that 42 in it and that 87 as well. James is 87. LeBron James is 42. But essentially, that's like what it is. It's like whatever's really going on with these celebrities, you just see that they are used and abused. It's like there are people that use a LeBron James, and we look at LeBron James because he has all this fame and fortune and supposed wealth. But at the same time, there's people who are using LeBron James that are making even more money. It's like he is a slave for somebody, and he's tied to a really sick, slave owner who's also sacrificing people with the planned rituals he has for LeBron. So again, when I say that so many of these deaths are connected to LeBron, I realize that ultimately it's not like it's LeBron calling the shots, but whatever he's born into and whatever uses and abuses him and probably mind controlled him from birth, this whole thing it's like usury, but it's slavery. And there's a reason that the same patterns persist all over. Okay, so this was Shock G yesterday. Again, Shock G, they had to make sure that you knew he died in Tampa. And that's where the Super Bowl was, of course, won by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's dead on the 112th day of the year. We're always talking about the Super Bowl and 112. Remember what we were saying last year? Last year with 112 in the Super Bowl, we were talking about how The Rock bought the Chiefs in his show Ballers in an episode exactly 112 days before the Super Bowl that the Chiefs won. That was for Super Bowl 54. And if I remember right, I know Chiefs is 112. So is mathematics, and realize that's what all this is, mathematics. It all comes from the Bible, fourth book of the Bible's numbers. Catholicism, our calendar and our language are credited to the Catholic Church. You see how Catholicism's 112, 185, 68? Look at mathematics. 112, 185, 68. Basketball has two of those connections. Basketball's got the 185 and 68, and we're talking about this big basketball-related death on the 112th day of the year. Fits in, again, the language, the calendar, the rituals. And, again, on the 22nd, too. This is the point I was going to make, though. Okay, so again, slavery, right? And then we've learned in our own history books that they started breeding slaves. They wanted the biggest woman and the biggest man to breed and make a bigger child because that bigger child would work even harder and be even more productive in their slave position, right? So they're breeding humans to make bigger humans to make them more money, right? What's different with what's going on right now with the professional athletes based on what we've exposed for nearly 8 straight years about how they're being sacrificed, how they're being ritually abused in the media? Supposedly these shaming rituals, these rich men robbing people and stuff doesn't even make sense. Why is a millionaire out robbing people? How's that even possible? Then they'll put out a story that he's a gambling junkie and lost all his money. He's trying to pay his bets. And is that? Do you trust what comes in the news? Again, so many people will be like, well, the news just reported the reason he did that is because he had a drug habit and a gambling addiction. Okay, that could be possible, but the news, is it ever really reporting you the truth? Not in my lifetime. But anyway, we're talking about a dead Kentucky basketball player, big, strong young man, 6'7", from Kentucky. What's Kentucky known for? Horse racing, thoroughbreds. How's thoroughbred? How's that go? Oh, they breed big, strong horses with the right genetics for these competitions that people love to watch that rake in a lot of money. Like I've been saying forever, it's very clear that, old concepts that we think were phased out, they didn't essentially get phased out. They just turned into something new. Okay, if we can't grow big black men to pick a lot of cotton and, tobacco for us, what other avenues are open? What other ways can we do it? Oh, how about entertainment? How about sports? I'm pretty sure this is very clearly what's going on. And again, with all these rituals being just one connecting to the next, this comes right before the Kentucky Derby. The death of this young Kentucky sports star who was on the verge of making it huge, just signed with LeBron. And I'm sure I will start decoding the Kentucky Derby, and we'll do it on Patreon. Every year we do the biggest sports events. Again, I really am just so burnt out on doing sports. It's just what is left to prove, man? I mean, literally, what's left to prove? Somebody say, get everything right every single time. I don't know if that's possible, man. They hold the cards. We get the vast majority right. We kill futures. We've done it in the world of horse racing. Again, we called both Triple Crown winners before they happened by understanding the knowledge. Triple Crown equals 144. The last time it happened, which was the 13th, it was the 144th year that the Triple Crown was possible. In light of how important that number is to time and all these rituals being in time, we knew that was going to happen. Again, I have that up here in the notes too. Again, last year's was a time tribute, the Secretariat thing. Time's got the gematria of 47 and 144. Triple Crown's 144. The Triple Crown winner before that was American Pharaoh, and that was the first Triple Crown winner in 37 years, and it was the 12th Triple Crown winner all time. 37's the 12th prime number. Numbers that go together, very special numbers. And words like perfect or 37, 12 has something to do with completion and time as well. You think about 12 months in the year, 12 hours in the morning, in the evening. The word American's 37. The horse that was the favorite was American Pharaoh. But again, it's just all ritual, you guys. And when you understand the ritual, when you do your homework right, when you see the way they're using the number and the number play, like again, if you knew gematria and you looked at all the horses on the 47 date numerology, when there's headlines like there's this virtual race and one of the stats is Secretariat won 47 years ago, who are you going to put your money on having this knowledge, knowing what you know about 47? Remember, the first Super Bowl season was in the 47th season of the NFL. The first basketball championship was in 47. 47's a big boss number. But of course, Secretariat 47. They even make Hollywood movies about this horse. So again, sadly, I'm sure once I decode the Kentucky Derby, I'll understand even more about this player's death. And I'm going to have to look in to see if any of the races going on that day, if LeBron's got money on horses, if LeBron's got a horse in the race. I mean, that's how they do it, you guys. It is a sick, messed up world, but when you learn this knowledge and start to pay attention, you start to see oh my God, these people are just blatant. But they realize the world is totally asleep. If the controllers of the world know how asleep the masses are. That's why it's pathetic that they still have to censor channels like mine. It's man, if there's a slice of the pie in the information world, I mean, the whole pie is them, and a piece of that crumb of the pie that you have to look at with an electron microscope, that's what my share of the world outlet of communication is, but they still got to censor it. They can't even let the tiniest fire start, but I keep losing my train of thought. It's early in the morning. I'm tired, man. But, well, it's not even that early now, but I got up early. I've been working. Been grinding, man. Just grinding. Trying to write a book, keep up with everything. Pound pavement. It's just, Oh, but I was saying, when I decode the Kentucky Derby, there's going to be some things that are going to stand out. Because they always do. All this stuff's connected. It's the biggest, sickest web, man. And again, this is just days before the Kentucky Derby. It's 9 days before. Another number connecting to completion. Okay, so. Oh, by the way, with all the 47, Klutch Sports is 47. The way he spells it with the K. I almost forget to hit that. And right before the Kentucky Derby, that has the 47 connection. The former Kentucky player, just 19 years old. All right, we'll leave it there, you guys. And again, Kentucky Derby is May 1st, so that is. Think about what day that is. No, that can't be right. Or yeah, that is right. That's not this Saturday, but it's next Saturday. It's next Saturday. All right. Well, I will start my homework on that. We'll talk about the Kentucky Derby on Patreon. We'll do a few live streams this week ahead. Talk about it early in the week. Talk about it midweek. Talk about it the day before the race. Sometimes a horse drops out. A big story happens. But again, the fun thing about horse racing is with a little bit of money, with this knowledge, you can sometimes turn a few dollars into a couple $100s with this knowledge. That's the beauty of it, or more. Some horse bets that they have long shots, you don't have to bet much on at all to get paid a ton. So anyway, we'll leave it there, you guys. And if you are interested in signing up for Patreon, again, expect live streams probably Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Well, maybe we'll do Monday, Thursday, Friday. I'll figure out what the schedule is. Wednesday I got the radio show with TFR, but we'll do a few before the big event. So we'll leave it there for now. Have a good rest of your day, Truth Seeker. And I will be back on the corner in a little bit on the Twitch channel. I'm hoping Michael's going to show up today. I was supposed to get Michael his ID last week, but he didn't show up. But he showed up yesterday, and he said he's got all his stuff, and he's ready to get his ID now. So I told him I'd be there at noon and see if we can help get this homeless young man an ID. He says he needs to get his ID so he can get a job. And I think he has the pressure right now because last time I talked to him, his sweet lady was on the street with him, but she found a place, and right now he's homeless alone. So I think he's more motivated than ever to get off the streets. So I'll be on Twitch TV in a little bit, and hopefully we link up with Michael here soon. So we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker, and until next time.